LG may be late to the game as far as smartphone releases go, but the G4 is finally here and it's ready to take on the competition. Hey, what's up everyone, this is Dom and welcome to my review of the LG G4. I've been using the T-Mobile variant of the G4 for a little over a week now as my daily driver, and it's been a very pleasant experience. If you've been holding out for a smartphone upgrade, this is definitely one to consider. LG's G4 may not be radically different from its predecessor, but the changes being made here are great ones. Inside of the G4, you'll find a Qualcomm Snapdragon 808 processor, which is a 6-core setup. We also have the Adreno 418 GPU, a 3000 mAh battery, though my T-Mobile version has a 2900 mAh battery, and 3 GB of RAM. The display size and resolution is the same as the LG G3 with 5.5 inches and a QHD display, but the G4 steps it up in brightness and color. The G4 has a 2560 by 1440 IPS quantum display that is very rich in color, brightness, contrast, and looks absolutely stunning. If this were an AMOLED display, it would definitely beat the Galaxy S6, but it's still fantastic nonetheless. The display also has a slight curve to it, nothing like you'll find with the G Flex series, but a nice comfortable curve that feels better than a flat display. The G4 takes on a slightly different design this time around and is a bit taller than its predecessor. It may not be a drastic design change, but I'm still a big fan of it. The dark metallic sides may prove to be a scratch magnet over time, but add a little bling to its otherwise plain design, and the leather version I have feels fantastic in the hand. I'm not usually a fan of leather-backed smartphones, and I'm still debating on whether or not I like the brown leather version, but it definitely wins over plastic. The thing about leather is that it will wear over time. It'll eventually get to the point where it looks disgustingly awesome, but that's what leather does, and I'm totally okay with it. The stitching on the back is actually real as well. I was impressed with the level of detail on the backside. Everything down to the G4 imprint was on point. Still, I probably prefer black leather over anything else. If that aged leather look begins to annoy you, the G4 has a removable back, and in theory you should be able to pick up different back covers to swap out as you please. Under that back cover we have access to the removable battery, micro SIM card, and micro SD card. LG's G4 also has a rear-facing speaker, which isn't the best placement in my opinion, but it's decently loud. We also have LG's famous button layout. I definitely prefer this style when compared to side buttons, but if you're new to them, it may take a bit to get used to. Right above those buttons is the main attraction of the G4 in my opinion. Here we have a 16 megapixel camera with OIS 2.0 that stabilizes on the X, Y, and Z axis, so super smooth shots all around. LG stuck with the laser autofocus introduced with the G3 and has also included a new color spectrum sensor that's said to improve on white balance and color accuracy. There's also an LED flash here, but with an f1.8 aperture and a larger sensor, you may not need it as much as you're used to. Pictures from the G4 are fantastic. I must retract my statement about the S6 having the best camera on an Android smartphone because the G4 now has the best camera on any smartphone. These pictures are excellent. Every picture here was taken in auto mode and the laser autofocus works like a charm most of the time. The pictures here are so detailed that you could easily zoom in and make another picture. If you'd like to see the full resolution photos from this review, check out the gallery linked below, but even in auto mode, this camera is the best around, but that's not where it ends. LG has also implemented DSLR-like controls within the camera app. You can manually adjust things like the ISO, shutter speed, exposure compensation, focus, and white balance. For fine-tuned editing, the G4 also allows you to shoot RAW and take the photos back to your favorite editing app for more control. There's also a pretty good 8 megapixel front-facing camera for all of you selfie enthusiasts. With a double press of the volume down button while the phone is locked, you can quickly open the camera and snap a picture. By default, the camera will instantly take that picture, which isn't really ideal, but luckily the settings can be adjusted to simply launch the camera app. It's pretty quick as well, and with the camera quality here, it's easy to get the shot that you wanted the first time. This camera shoots up to UHD video quality, and it does a pretty good job as well. The optical image stabilization is a bit aggressive when moving around and walking, but with a steady hand, you can capture some great video. If you'd like to see a UHD video test from the G4, be sure to leave this video a thumbs up. As far as software and performance goes, if you've experienced Lollipop on the G3, there's not much of a difference with the G4. Slight design changes with the interface are present, but mostly everything is the same. The G4 is running Android 5.1 and does it like a boss. Everything is buttery smooth. I'm honestly not a huge fan of LG's Android skin, but it's really not that horrible. There are stock elements here and there, but mostly what you see is part of the skin. LG's dual window feature is also still present, but it'll only work with a handful of apps. Quick reply windows are still here, which I've always been a big fan of, but most everything else has been just carried over from the Lollipop release for the G3. That's not a bad thing in any way though. The G4 handles tasks with ease, and the Snapdragon 808 processor setup is plenty for everything that you'd need. Overall, performance is definitely on point with the LG G4. There's not much else to say in this department. As for battery life, it's been pretty good for me. This G4 is running on the T-Mobile network, and I've been using the device between the East Coast and West Coast over the last week. I've seen screen on time of up to 4.5 hours. It's not the best, but pretty good in my opinion, given the screen resolution. The good news is that this battery can be swapped out, unlike other 2015 flagships. Unfortunately, the G3 battery does not fit, but I'm still happy to have the option of swapping batteries if I ever choose to do so. With average usage on my part, I had no trouble making it from morning until night with the G4. If you're a heavy user, you may want to pick up a second battery to have on deck because the G4 does not feature Qualcomm's quick charging capabilities, nor does it ship with built-in wireless charging. At least that's the case with my unit, but LG will offer back replacements and cases to enable the feature. At the end of the day, here's the sad truth about the G4. This is an excellent smartphone, but being late to the game, everyone may have already picked up a different 2015 flagship. If you haven't yet, I'd strongly consider the G4. It has a comfortable design, excellent display, fantastic camera, and is as smooth as butter. Without a doubt, the G4 has the best camera on any smartphone right now, and that's really hard to pass up. The G4 will continue to be my daily driver from this point forward, but should you buy it? In my opinion, hell yes. This is the smartphone to compete with in 2015. So there you have it. This is the G4. It's an all-around great smartphone, and if you pick one up, I think you'll agree. So if you enjoyed this review, feel free to hit the thumbs up button as it does help out the channel a lot, and subscribe if you're not already for more reviews like this in the future. Thanks again for watching everybody. This is Dom, and I'll catch you in the next video.